called Christina Nance. Will you state and spell your name, please?
Christina Nance, Kristina-Nance.
And Ms. Nance, there's some water in cups there if you need it. My name is Bill Bishop. You and I spoke before, is that correct?
That is correct.
And that was in May 2012?
Yes, sir.
And at that time, do you recall me giving you an agreement, basically a testimonial immunity agreement?
Yes, sir.
Do you remember what that was?
Not specifically.
It's an agreement that basically anything you say in the grand jury proceeding or in this proceeding, it can't be used against you in criminal charges.
Right.
It doesn't mean you can't be prosecuted for criminal charges. It just means your words cannot be used against you. Does that make sense?
I guess so.
If there was other evidence of a crime, they can certainly present that, but nothing you say or testify to could be used against you in any way.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
I guess so.
And I explained to you at that time what the oath meant and things such as that.
Yeah.
Sorry?
Yes, sir.
If you could, just try to answer yes or no or however so she can get it on recorder record. Okay?
Okay.
In early 2012, how were you employed?
Liquidation channel.
And what is Liquidation Channel?
Jewelry channel on TV.
And what did you do for them?
Personal shopper.
What does that mean?
I help people get jewelry over the phone and
Sell
sell it to them.
Okay.
Sales over the phone.
And at some point in late 2011 or early 2012, did you meet Brandon Daniel?
Yes.
How did you meet Brandon Daniel?
Through a posting on Craigslist.
Did he contact you?
Yes.
And you know when that was?
No.
Do you have any idea?
Nope. I don't remember.
And following that initial contact on Craigslist, did you and he begin to spend a lot of time together?
Yes, sir.
About over what course of time did that occur?
Can you rephrase the question?
Weeks, months?
That we were hung out total?
Yes.
Months, 2 or 3 months. I don't really remember. Something like that.
And you're aware of what he's charged with, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And you and he stopped hanging out together prior to this event?
Yes.
Some period of time previous to this?
Yes. Months.
And how would you describe your relationship with Mr. Daniel?
I don't really remember a lot of details about our relationship. We just hung out. I mean,
Did you consider him to be your boyfriend?
no,
Did he consider you to be his girlfriend?
not that I know of.
And what sorts of things would you do when you were together?
Watch movies, video games, stuff like that. Go out.
Drug use?
Yeah.
What kind of drugs?
All kinds of drugs. I'd have to state them specifically.
Those that you can remember.
I don't remember specific names.
Was Xanax among them?
Yes.
Was cocaine among them?
Yes.
Acid?
Yes.
Mushrooms?
Yes.
Ecstasy?
Yes.
And where did these drugs come from?
We just bought them. Usually he bought them. I don't know where he would get them from.
So you and he were not necessarily together when the drugs were purchased?
No.
I'm not trying to trick you.
Not, I mean, not that I remember. This was a very long time ago.
And
We might
sometimes-
have been once or twice together as we picked something up at one point.
And were there times when you picked something up?
Yes.
And other than you and he, were there regular people who'd hang out with you as well?
Yes.
Who would that be?
I don't remember, just friends of his.
And how many times do you think you and Mr. Daniel were together using drugs of some sort?
It's hard to recall, maybe like 10, 20.
Do you recall at one time a discussion that he wanted to find an 8-ball?
Yeah.
What is an 8-ball?
An amount of cocaine.
It's 1/8 of an ounce of cocaine.
It's something, I don't know the measurements of it.
Do you know if y'all ever found that, or he ever found that?
I don't remember.
And you said y'all hung out a lot. Where would you typically hang out?
His apartment,
Where was his apartment?
off Palmer and Mopac area.
He's real close to the intersection of Palmer and Mopac.
Yeah.
Did he ever go to your apartment?
Yes.
How many times do you think he went to your apartment?
It's a house. He came over there maybe about 10 times, a dozen.
Would you say more time was spent at your house or his apartment?
His apartment.
And as far as your relationship with him, was it ever violent?
No.
And I want to ask you about the end of y'all's friendship. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Can you describe to us what happened to basically end your friendship?
I fronted a lot of money, like $600, to get some drugs, and he agreed to pay me back and never did. And,
You used a lot of words there, but what does fronted mean?
buy it ahead of time and have him pay me back. I get it with the money I have ahead of time, and he pays me back for it.
And in fact, some of the drugs on this occasion were purchased by you at that time.
Toward the end, yeah.
And then some of that last night.
Yeah.
And then some of the drugs y'all were given as a front, is that correct? And you're expected to pay back whoever
Yeah.
gave you the drug.
Yes, sir. And that was, I believe, the acid.
And that's somewhat common for drug dealers to front items, is it not?
It is common.
And would you say it's probably not a good idea to leave them hanging on paying them back?
No, it's not a good idea.
And did he assist at all with you paying for those drugs that were fronted?
I had nothing to do with the front. He got it from his friend, and that was just their personal deal. I had nothing to do with it, so he didn't say anything to me personally about that. That I recall, anyway.
But you recall that he took care of the front, that he did.
Yes.
But did he ever pay you back for what you purchased?
No.
Did you purchase it on the understanding that he would pay you back?
Yes.
And in terms of income, is it fair to say that at that time he made a lot more money than you did?
That is very fair.
And is it fair to say that even outside of this transaction, you were not in the greatest financial shape at the time?
Correct.
And did it set you back quite a bit to not get paid back for that money?
Yes, it did. I was late on rent.
How many times when you were hanging out with Mr. Daniel did you see his gun?
I'd say maybe 10.
And how did that come up?
Just more like a, hey, I have a gun, look how cool. And then he always told me it was strictly like for protection kind of a thing, just in case.
So he thought that him having a gun was cool?
It seemed like it sometimes, like he was just like any other young boy with a gun.
And on the times that you went out, you said you went out some during this time period as well, did he ever take his gun with him?
Not one time.
You never saw him take it outside of his apartment?
Never.
Did he ever come to your apartment and have it with him?
Never.
Or your house, excuse me?
Never.
And were you aware during that time period as well that Mr. Daniel had a motorcycle?
Yes.
And in fact, you rode on that motorcycle on more than one occasion, correct?
Yes.
Was it always with him?
No, he had a car too. Oh, no, yes.
He never let you ride it by yourself?
No.
It was always you on the back?
Correct, I don't have a license.
And how was his driving on the motorcycle?
Normal?
Did he ever go really fast or anything like that?
No, not that I can remember.
Did he ever brag about going really fast?
Yeah, he said he got a police chase or something in Colorado or something at some point.
He told you, in fact, he'd outrun the police in Colorado.
Yes, sir.
Do you remember how many times he would tell that story?
No, I don't recall.
Do you remember hearing it more than once?
I believe so.
And you referenced his discussions about the gun as he thought it was kind of bragging or cool. How was his demeanor as to the motorcycle and the outrunning police?
I really can't recall.
And during the time that y'all two were hanging out together, was he ever jealous?
I really I can't remember. No.
You don't recall a time when you basically told him you didn't want to have any more contact with him because you didn't like the way he treated you in front of some other male?
I don't remember if that did happen. That is very possible.
Did he ever discuss his ex-girlfriend with you?
Yes.
How often?
I don't know, not too often. A few times he talked about her.
And how did he speak of her?
That she was a really nice, good girl, and that he cared for her very much, and that they split up.
Did it seem to you that he moved on?
Kind of, but that he was still kind of clinging on a little.
But was it anything you would have classified at the time as out of the ordinary?
No.
Did you ever meet her?
Yes.
And in fact, she came over one night when you and Mr. Daniel were together, is that correct?
Yes.
And she watched a movie with y'all?
Yes.
And then she slept on the couch and you and Mr. Daniel went to his bedroom?
Yes.
What was it, John? And I'm sure you've been marked, what will be marked as State's Exhibit 79. You recognize that?
Yep.
And without going into the contents of that, is it fairly and accurately depict that scene as you remember it?
Yes.
Yeah. Now, this time the state would move to State's Exhibit 79. No objection. Commissioner Public Secretary. What is that?
Said, what is that?
Yes.
It's something I wrote on the mirror in lipstick, I do believe.
Is that at his apartment?
Yes.
And his being Mr. Daniels' apartment?
Yes.
And what does it say?
Nikki N loves Brandon D.
And that was taken, I assume, during the time that you and he were hanging out?
Yes.
I'll pass witness this time.
Advance, my name is Russ Hunt, and of course I recognize you. Do you recall when you did the drawing on the mirror that is here on the safety exhibit?
Yes, I do.
When did you do that?
After I did a lot of drugs and was a little not thinking straight, if you know what I mean.
I do. And were you and Brandon doing drugs together on that day?
Yeah.
And it's my understanding that towards more at the beginning of your relationship, there was less drug use than toward the end of your relationship. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
Were you aware when you started hanging out with Brandon that he had recently broken up with Jenna, the other girlfriend?
Yeah.
And toward the beginning of that time, there was some drug use that was relatively light drug use. Is that correct?
Yes.
And that changed over time, didn't it?
Yes.
Brandon started doing more and more drugs, heavier drugs, and mixing drugs. Is that correct?
Yes. A lot of mixing.
A lot of mixing. And that caused you concern, didn't it?
Yes.
You were concerned about his physical health, weren't you?
Yes.
Did he, all toward the end of the time when y'all were spending time together, did he almost seem reckless about whether he might overdose and die?
Yes.
Did he make statements to you about how he wished he was dead? Did he say that certain times?
I can't recall that.
If you told the grand jury he conveyed that he wished he was dead on multiple occasions, if you told him that, would you have any reason now to disagree with that?
No, I wouldn't have any reason to disagree. I just don't remember.
Do you remember whether Brandon was just a super happy-go-lucky person all the time, or if he was instead sad and depressed?
He was human.
So we all go up and we all go down.
Yeah. Exactly.
So he had some good days and some bad days like everyone.
Correct.
If I recall your grand jury testimony correctly, Brandon and you used Xanax on certain occasions, is that correct?
Correct.
And toward the end of your time that y'all hung out together, Brandon was using more and more Xanax, is that right?
Yes, when we would do drugs that were uppers, Xanax would help go to sleep. So that's, I guess, why we started to use that.
So in the
that drug.
beginning, the two of y'all might recreationally do cocaine, for instance.
Mhm.
And cocaine makes you hard to sleep, right?
Right.
And somebody said, hey, do Xanax and that'll help you come down from the cocaine.
Yes, sir. It slows down your heart rate.
So it's like a cycle from being up on the cocaine to down on the Xanax.
Right.
What does Xanax do to a person's memory?
Apparently, it messes it up, makes you forget.
Has that ever happened to you?
Yes, it has.
So when you say apparently, that's from your own observation?
Yes, sir.
So at first, the idea was we'll come down from doing something that speeds us up. Did Brandon's develop what seemed to be a habit of using it more and more often?
Yes, the amount of pills he took would gradually increase over time. Went from 2 to 4 to 6 to 10 over time.
Would it be 10 over a period of time?
I really can't remember too much. I remember he would be popping in like candy. I wasn't monitoring him like a child as to what he was taking. I just know that he would buy 10 and then in 3 or 4 hours they'd be gone. So I don't know.
And you noticed behavior changes when you were taking that, is that right?
Yes.
Now, you testified earlier there was no violence between the two of you, is that correct?
Correct.
But he would frankly become rude and say mean things to you.
Sometimes he would be a little harsh in the way he would speak to me.
You didn't appreciate that.
No, I did not.
Nobody likes to be talked negative, to be talked down to, right?
Right.
But that corresponded with his doing the Xanax, right?
Right.
So normally, non-Xanax is not talking to you that, right? But he does Xanax and sometimes he gets rude and uncaring, let's say.
Yes.
Even despite your drug use, he still was very proud during the time period of his job. You recall that?
Yes.
And he had a really good job, it was a good paying job, and he was very proud of himself for that. Is that correct?
Yes.
And do you recall times that the drug use would interfere with his job, and he would have to, say, call out in sick?
It would happen rarely that he would call in sick, but sometimes he would. I recall a few times that he did call in.
And if he did that, he would get very upset with himself and be mad at himself for having this work. Is that right?
Yes.
Because his work seemed to really matter.
Yes.
But apparently the drug use was hard enough to stop that he wasn't able to stop to save his work from his drug use. Would you say that's accurate?
Yes.
In your experience, is Xanax a difficult drug to stop using once you start using it?
I can't say I've never had a Xanax problem.
Fair enough. Now, you, if I understand correctly, you do have a couple of DWI charges. Is that correct?
Yes, I do.
And are you still on probation for those particular charges?
No.
Okay, you completed that.
Yes, sir.
Good. So it would be safe to say that you certainly were also partaking in these illegal drugs. Is that correct?
Yes.
And let's sort of move over to talk about the gun. So you said that occasionally Brandon would show you the gun and say, I've got the gun for home protection. Is that correct?
Correct.
And I think you made a point to say that what you said in your earlier was it's for protection, but it was actually for home protection. Is that correct?
Yes.
So if anybody tries to come in my home, I'm ready to protect myself.
Correct.
And you also said, I think, that he specifically never did take that gun out of the apartment, as far as you know.
Correct.
Never took it over to your house.
Nope.
Never took it out when y'all went to play pool or something like that.
Nope.
Never took it with him when y'all went to go meet a drug supplier, correct?
He never took it out of his closet,
Okay.
actually, ever.
So when he would show it to you, would it be in the living room or in the closet?
In the closet, always.
Okay. So he was that careful and safe with it when you were around?
Yes.
Did he ever spin it around his finger or shoot it off in your presence?
Never.
Or speak cavalierly about it?
Never. He seemed very responsible with his weapon.
Well, why do you say that? Did he have a lock on it or anything?
Yeah, I mean, a safety lock on it. He had it put up in a very safe place in his closet, or where it was not easily accessible. He seemed to know all of the safety, everything about the weapon. So he seemed very responsible with it.
So it didn't make you nervous that he had the gun in the apartment because he seemed to be taking good care of it?
Correct.
So you didn't feel like you were in
No.
Would you consider that at the end of y'all's time together that he had a substance abuse problem? You think he was abusing drugs? Was that point when you finished something?
Yeah.
Why do you say that?
He was just, he was mixing, he was doing too many drugs. Obviously, that would be abusing a drug.
He seemed to have a regular habit where he was doing it all the time.
Yeah.
Now, toward the end of your relationship, you had indicated that Brandon bought a large quantity of drugs.
Yes.
On a particular occasion. Is that right?
Yes.
And is that what sort of led to you all breaking up and not seeing each other? Well, we say breaking up, you weren't really technically dating.
No, we were not.
But that's what led to the end of y'all seeing each other. Is that right?
Yes.
And because he went out and bought a bunch of drugs, you bought him a bunch of drugs.
Yeah.
And you didn't pay back.
Right, I paid for it. He never paid me back for those.
And did he also have some friends of him, as far as you knew, that he didn't pay for?
Correct.
From some other person?
I'm
Yes.
sorry, I didn't hear the last question.
I'm sorry. Did some other person also from him a large quantity that he didn't pay for?
Yes.
not a very good idea to leave the drug dealer hanging out and not paid. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Because that, sometimes those folks can be dangerous folks.
They can be.
I'm going to show you one thing. I'm going to show you that transcript of the grand jury testimony we talked about earlier, where on page 43, if you'll read this answer of yours to one of the grand jurors. Can you read that?
Not the drugs, but he did convey to me that he wished he was dead on multiple occasions.
What do you think you meant by that when you said that to the grand jury?
I don't remember stating that, to be honest.
Did Brandon seem obsessed with death or anything like that?
No.
You know, you see the doc kids with all the dark clothes and the makeup and all kinds of stuff. Was Brandon one of those kind of people?
Not at all.
So you just don't recall what it was that you were doing?
I don't recall, but I believe everyone has maybe said something like that before in their life and not meant it. So
you didn't consider him to be a suicide risk?
no, not at all.
And talk a little bit about the former girlfriend, Jenna Phelan. You met Jenna Phelan that one particular day.
Yes.
And on that time she came over, y'all watched movies, and you and Brandon went to the bedroom and she slept on the sofa.
Right.
Did you think that was frankly kind of weird that the ex-girlfriend would come over and hang out when she would all go back to Brandon's bedroom?
I don't know. Maybe a little. Not really. No, I liked her.
Did she seem to feel uncomfortable?
No, she did not at all.
She seemed to be supportive of Brandon and enjoyed being around him.
Yeah.
And did this deal in the mirror coincide with that particular day, or some other day, or do you?
I can't remember.
All right, you're on off that.
Ms. Nance, after that, the incident involving the drugs and the money, did you ever make a statement to Mr. Daniel that you were going to take it out on his car or damage his car if he didn't pay you back?
I probably did. I don't remember.
Why would you say you probably did?
Because I tend to get mad and say things I don't mean every now and again.
So that would not have been out of character for you to say?
It would not have been out of character at all.
I have no
So for the question, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. You may step down. Next witness.
Mr. Kelvin Davis.
All right.
So state your name and spell your name for the record, please.
My name is Kelvin Davis, Kelvin Davis.
Mr. Davis, what state do you live in?
Virginia.
Was there a period when you lived in the state of Texas?
Yes.
And when was that?
From 2005 until 2012.
Mr. Davis, what was it that brought you to the state of Texas?
Army. In the military.
You were in the military, correct?
Yes, sir.
And where were you stationed?
Fort Hood.
At some point, did you move to Austin?
Yes, in 2010.
Did you move to Austin and live by yourself, or did you live with someone?
I lived with someone.
What was the relationship with that person to you?
It's my girlfriend.
Was there some point when y'all stopped living together?
Yes, in January of 2012.
January of 2012, y'all stopped living together. Did you seek a roommate out?
Yes.
And Mr. Davis, how did you go about seeking out a roommate?
I went on Craigslist and found a roommate.
And tell me the result of your search for a roommate.
It was Brandon. Daniel.
Brandon Daniel?
Mhm.
You had not known him before that, correct?
Correct.
And how was it that you made arrangements to room with him?
Called him, went by his apartment, saw the place, met him. Seemed like a pretty nice guy, like we could get along, so moved in.
In January of 2012, what about his personality made you think y'all would make a good match as far as you living with him?
He was quiet, I was quiet. Was in the computers and such, so was I.
And where did y'all live together?
Off of Palmer.
Is that
Water's Edge Apartments.
Water's Edge apartment? Brandon Daniel was already living there, correct?
Correct.
And you moved in.
Correct.
What was your understanding of what led him to need a roommate?
He had broken up with his girlfriend.
So when you moved in January, what's your roommate relationship like with Brandon Daniel?
It's good. Went to work. I went to school. Saw each other in the evenings. That was pretty much it.
Any kind of roommate personality issues?
No.
Any kind of financial issues?
No.
How did y'all make arrangements for paying the bills?
I just gave him money, paid the bills, gave me a receipt.
Never had any kind of financial problems with being kicked out of it, or did you
No.
threaten to turn off the lights and cable and all that?
No.
Now, was there a point where he started seeing a woman by the name of Nikki Nance?
Yes.
Do you recall when they started seeing each other?
March, I think. So March.
But your recollection is they started seeing each other in March of 2012?
Mhm.
You have to say yes or no.
Yes.
What was their relationship like?
Nikki came around, drinking, drugs. That's pretty much it.
Did she come around by herself, or did she have friends that came over too?
Sometimes she brought a friend. Don't remember the young man's name, but sometimes she brought a friend.
And what kind of drugs were they doing?
DMT, Xanax, coke, weed.
After she started coming around, was it pretty common for them to do all the different kinds of drugs?
Yes.
Did you also mention cocaine?
Yes.
Did Brandon Daniel, to your knowledge, take part in the use of those drugs also?
Yes.
At one point, did he try to get you involved in using cocaine?
Once he texted me, he had some, asked me if I wanted some, I didn't.
Do you remember where that took place and how long before the death of Jaime Padron that was?
I don't know exactly when that was. Exactly. I just remember it happening. It was at the house.
Sometime in the first part of January of 2012, correct?
Around, yeah.
And that would have been in the apartment that y'all shared?
Yes.
And did you say he texted you about it?
Mm-hmm.
Why was
Yes.
it that he was texting you?
My friend was over, my girlfriend was there. So, we normally didn't bother each other.
Were you in a separate location in the apartment?
Right, I was in my bedroom, he was in the living room.
And he was inviting you to come into the living room to partake in the cocaine, is that correct?
Yes.
And did you take him up on that offer?
No.
Were you bothered by that?
A little bit, because I don't really do cocaine. Never done cocaine.
When you started rooming with Brandon Daniel, did you realize that he used those kind of drugs?
No.
Did that make you uncomfortable having those kind of drugs in your apartment?
Not really. I didn't. I mean, I didn't appreciate him asking me to do it, but it's a grown man. He can do what he wants.
You weren't judging his use of those drugs,
Right.
you just did not want to be involved.
I didn't choose to be a part of it. I didn't care what he did.
And you yourself at that time, did you partake in the use of marijuana?
Yes.
Did you also join Brandon Daniel in using marijuana?
Yes.
Did you ever, when it was just you and him, did he also use other kinds of drugs?
Xanax.
How often did he use Xanax?
Often. Quite often.
Like often, daily, often, or?
Not daily. More than 3 times a week, 1 or twice a week.
You know if you know how much Xanax he used on those occasions?
No.
But he regularly used Xanax 3 times a week or more or less?
Yes.
And during what period of time did y'all live together did he use Xanax?
I think I noticed maybe in February.
February of 2012?
Mm-hmm.
Did you at one time discover that the defendant had a gun in the apartment?
Yes.
Did that surprise you? Had you known about the gun before you discovered it?
I didn't know about it before.
What was it that led to you discovering the gun?
The maintenance people, they came and can't remember what they had to do. Excuse me, but I knew that I knew I had weed and he had weed, so I went in this closet to see where it was, so that nothing would happen. And I saw the gun and just covered it up.
Do you recall where in the
Hmm?
do you recall where you saw the
In his
gun?
closet.
Closet?
Mhm.
Somewhere out in the open where it could be seen, somebody just came in there?
Yeah,
And you covered it up so the security people are.
the maintenance man. Right.
See. I want to talk to you about the night of April 6th of 2012, the events leading up to defendant killing Officer Jaime Padron at the Walmart. Were you around Brandon Daniel on that day?
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about what was going on that day?
I was on spring break. He had some time off from work.
I'm
So,
sorry. Did you say you were on spring break?
yes. And he had some time off from work, so hung out, smoked, and drank a little bit.
What do you mean drank a little bit?
I mean, like, I had a couple of drinks, and he had drinks.
When you talk about drinks, you're talking about alcohol and beverage.
Right.
What were y'all drinking? What kind of alcohol?
I was drinking Captain Morgan's, and he was drinking tequila.
Captain Morgan was rum, correct?
Right.
And he was drinking tequila?
Mhm.
And where was this alcohol that y'all were drinking at? I mean, were you in your apartment?
In the
or-
apartment.
Had y'all been drinking a lot that day?
I hadn't, not a lot.
You normally don't drink very much?
No.
Were you also smoking marijuana?
Right.
Was you or he doing any other drugs?
Brandon took Xanax.
Nothing unusual about that?
The quantity, I mean, I never really saw him take it, but I saw him take it that day, and it was more than I could imagine him being able to handle.
I'm sorry, did you say that was the first day you had actually seen him?
Actually seen him do it. I knew he did it, but that was the first day I actually seen him with my eyes, like, sit in front of me do it.
You knew he had been using Xanax since February.
Right.
Is that based on what he told you?
Yeah.
But that day in April 6th was the first day you physically saw him. use
Right.
Xanax.
Right.
But for some reason you thought there was an amount he could not handle?
It was a lot. It was like 6 or 7. It was like 6 of them.
How much did he normally take?
A lot. I don't know. I can't tell you exactly how many he took at a time. I have no idea.
Okay.
But I know that was a lot of Xanax.
You don't have any idea if that was the normal amount of Xanax that he
I
took?
just know that was a lot of Xanax.
Right, but you hear what I'm asking you?
No.
Having not seen him take Xanax before on any occasion,
Mm-hmm.
did you have any way of knowing if that's the amount that he normally took?
No.
So it could have been that every time he took Xanax, on those 3 times a week, starting in February, that he could take that same amount every time he took it.
Objection, Your Honor, you cause for speculation.
This witness has testified that he observed him take an amount that he believed to be a high amount. I want to show that he has no idea what the normal amount is that he takes.
Objection overruled.
Do you understand my question?
Yes.
What's your answer?
I've seen him take 6 Xanax. I have no idea how many he normally took.
So on that day, this man taking the 6 Xanax, do you recall about what time of day or night it was?
It was 6-ish, 7, somewhere around there.
In the evening?
Mm-hmm.
At your apartment?
Right.
What happened after y'all were drinking and taking Xanax? Anything else happened that evening?
We went to the gas station around the corner from my house.
At a convenience store?
Mm-hmm.
I think you say yes and no.
Yes,
for the
yes.
court. Mr. Davis, before you went to that convenience store, service station convenience store, did you have a conversation where the defendant talked about robbing that convenience store?
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Said he wondered what it would be like to hit a store, and I didn't think anything of it.
What did you think he meant when he said hit a store?
Thought he meant go to the store.
But did he explain to you what he meant?
He said how much money would they keep in the cash drawer.
What happened after you said that? Did you say anything to him?
I tried to downplay it. I didn't think he was serious.
What do you mean you tried to downplay it?
Like get the idea of his head out of his head. Like joked about it with him.
You're talking about other legal trouble he had been in
Right.
at that time.
Right.
That's true. He doesn't need to get in any more trouble. He has enough trouble already.
Right.
That's how you try to downplay it?
Yes.
What was his response to you downplaying his talk about robbing the convenience store?
Said he had gotten away with. He gets away with worse stuff.
He didn't say stuff.
Shit.
He said he's gotten away with worse shit than that.
Right.
That's what he told you, correct?
Correct.
He also talked to you about on his motorcycle outrunning the police.
Yes.
And this is after he had talked to you about robbing a convenience store, correct?
Correct.
And after y'all had that conversation, did y'all go to that convenience store?
Yes.
Do you know, Mr. Davis, if the defendant took his gun with him?
No idea.
No idea?
I have no idea if he did.
What happened after you came back from the convenience store?
We drank some more. He called his mom, or his mom called him.
Was he drinking a lot?
Yes.
And you're sure about that?
Yes.
What was he drinking?
Jose Cuervo.
Still a tequila?
Yes.
Do you have any idea how much tequila he drank that night?
I know at the end of the night the bottle was empty.
What size bottle was it, do you recall?
Liter.
And you just made a motion, we have to get on the court.
It's a liter bottle.
A large liter bottle?
Yes.
Was that a full bottle when he started, or any idea?
No clue. I know when at the end of the night, it was gone.
And he was the one drinking it, not you.
Yeah, I can't deal with that. I can't handle tequila. No.
And you said he was drinking that much that night.
Yes.
At some point, did you go into your room and leave him out there?
Yes.
Did he at some point leave the apartment while
Yes.
you were in your room?
Yes.
Do you remember about what time that was?
It's like 9:15, because I remember going to bed fairly early.
After you were in your apartment and he left the apartment, was there some point when he came back to the apartment?
Yes.
Do you recall what time that was?
Just like 15 minutes later,
And anything happened after that?
I went to sleep.
You don't know what went on after that?
Exactly.
Let me ask you this. we were talking earlier about bills and things. Did y'all have any problem keeping food in the apartment?
No.
Was there food in the apartment that night?
Yes.
Just like normal, correct?
Right.
Do you remember a time, going back to Nikki Nance? Do you remember a time when Nikki Nance had threatened to do some damage to Brandon Daniels' vehicle?
Yes.
Do you remember what his response was to her threatening to damage the vehicle?
Said he would kill him.
And you didn't take that seriously, did you?
Not at all.
That is what he said. isn't it?
Yes.
The defendant's a pretty smart person.
In my opinion, yes.
He never seemed to have any kind of psychotic issues or anything like that.
No.
Did he ever violent or threatening towards you?
No.
And you were around quite a bit when he was using drugs, is that fair to say?
Yes.
And by using drugs, I don't just mean marijuana. I mean
Yes.
cocaine, Xanax, acid maybe,
Yes.
a whole host of drugs. Did he ever, in the time that you knew him as his roommate, ever talk about having any family issues with his mother or father?
No.
Any kind of bad childhood memories, anything like that?
No.
Then I'll pass it. Thanks.
Good afternoon, Mr. Davis.
There you go.
I know we've met on at least 2 occasions, is that about right?
Correct.
Mr. Davis, your real name is Kelvin Davis, but people call you Dante, is that right?
Yes.
And that's a common nickname that you have?
It's my middle name.
So let me just go back a little bit, okay? You stated that you had observed that night Brandon take between 6 and 7 Xanax, is that correct?
Correct.
In response-
Just an objection. I believe the testimony was he took, observed he took 6 Xanax that night.
I think you said at least 6, John.
And does your honor recall the evidence as Amy is?
All right. You say he took at least 6 Xanax.
Correct.
Could it have been more?
Possibly.
Maybe 7?
Sure.
Maybe 8?
Yes.
So, you saw him take that much Xanax. I think your response to a question to Mr. Cobb was, and then he asked you a whole bunch of questions to deflect from that, but your answer to Mr. Cobb was, it seemed like, and I wrote it down, it seemed like a lot for him to take. Is that
Correct.
right?
Yes.
Okay. In fact, I think your exact words were more than I could imagine him handling. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So, Mr. Davis, you were in the Army at one time. I think is
Yes.
what you testified to. And I know on previous cases when we talked, how old are you, sir?
27.
When you were in the Army, did there, and I don't want to pry too much about your personal life, but when you were in the Army, did there come a time when you were deployed to Afghanistan?
Iraq.
All right.
Yes.
And was that during the war?
Yes.
And when you came back from the war, did you have any issues with PTSD?
I did.
When you had the issues with PTSD, were you prescribed any sort of drug to deal with it?
Xanax.
Okay. So when you were talking about more than he could handle or management to handle, were you talking about that from experience with Xanax?
Correct.
Okay. Now, when you were prescribed Xanax, you were prescribed by the medical doctors on the post?
At the VA hospital.
At the VA. So you were given it in therapeutic doses, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So did there come a time that you decide that you didn't want to take your Xanax anymore?
Quite quickly, actually.
Okay. Well, why is that, Mr. Davis?
I felt like a zombie. I didn't feel like I was in control.
Okay. And you were given therapeutic doses, and you weren't given the amount of Brandon was taking, right?
I don't know how much he was taking. I don't know the milligrams.
How much were you taking? Do you remember?
No, that was years ago.
Okay, that's great. So, you said it made you feel like a zombie.
Yes.
Did you ever blank out or forget stuff, black out?
Yes.
Did you lose periods of time?
I lost whole nights.
Okay. You said you had a girlfriend.
Yes.
Did you have that girlfriend when you were taking that as your friend?
No.
Okay. Did any of your roommates or any of your friends tell you stuff that you did that you couldn't remember doing?
Yes.
Okay. And when they told you about those things, did you believe that it was you that was actually doing it?
No.
And you said you very quickly decided that
It wasn't for me.
yeah, that wasn't going to help you. Is that fair enough?
Correct. Yes.
So, as I recall your testimony, you stated that, for lack of a better term, you and Brandon were doing long runs that day and both partying that day, correct?
I mean, wasn't partying. We were watching TV and smoking weed.
Smoking weed, and at some point you started doing that, right?
Correct.
Okay. At some point, you stated that he called his mother. Is that right?
Right. I don't know exactly who called. He was on the phone with his mother.
But you knew he was on the phone with his mother.
Yes.
And do you remember what anything Brandon was saying or how he was acting when he was on the phone with his mother?
Question here, sir.
I'm not asking what the mother said. I'm asking what.
Said anything what he was saying.
Repeat the question, please.
Do you know what Mr. Daniel was saying?
That's
on the
hearsay.
phone?
You're asking for a yes or no answer?
Yes.
All right. You may answer yes or no.
Yes.
Okay. Was he crying or sad or anything like that?
He was crying.
Okay. Do you know why he was crying?
He's talking about his ex-girlfriend.
And you met him before?
Yes.
Now, you seem to be very, just on the stand, kind of a little stoic. You don't really talk that much. Do you? Brandon talk a lot about things?
Not about, no.
So when Mr. Kyle was asking you to talk about family and family problems and issues, is that something you guys sat around and talked about?
No.
Y'all didn't get into personal business like that?
No.
Okay. It was, that was something you would feel comfortable with anyway?
No.
You don't
Not at
feel-
all. No, not at all.
Yeah, you just don't wear your emotions like that?
Exactly.
And when you did talk to Brandon, it was mostly guy talk and stuff?
Guy talk, computer talk, cars, bikes.
Superficial, but friendly.
Correct.
Now, but did you know enough about him to know that he was sad about his girlfriend?
Yes.
Okay. Did y'all ever have a conversation where you told a man you need to be a man about it or anything up to those effects?
I've told him to move on.
Okay. Seemed like you had some trouble with that?
Yes.
And you stated that you had on occasion met Nicky Nance, is that right?
Correct.
Describe Nicky Nance.
She's nuts.
Could you explain a little bit more about that?
Just from meeting her the first time, it's either she was on drugs really too hard or something wasn't right in her head.
Did you, when she came around with Brandon, did you stay around his bar with him,
No.
converse with him?
No.
What did you do?
I would leave. If I had company over, I would stay. If I didn't, I'd leave.
And you didn't like being around him?
No.
Did you think, in your opinion, was she a good influence on him?
Not at all.
Did you notice a change in him and how much drugs he was doing when you started hanging out with her?
Yes.
And how so?
Became more frequent. The drugs became more intense.
Now, tell me about Brandon's work. Did you work a lot?
Yes, every day.
Did that change a little that week that you were on spring break?
Yes, he took the week off.
You know if he actually got time off or he had just been calling in sick? Do you know that at all?
I just know he told me he had the week off.
Okay. He's been staying home every day?
Or riding his bike. That's it.
Did he seem to be doing a lot of drugs during that week?
Yes.
That's it, Sean. Thank you, Mr. Davis.
So during this April spring break, he was off work for a week,
Yes.
the spring break?
Yes.
Did he work from home?
No.
He always went into work?
You know what? He did work from home like once a week or something like that, once every 2 weeks.
Just-
It wasn't often.
He rarely worked from home, is that fair?
Yes.
But this week he was off work for spring break in April.
Correct.
So, now which ex-girlfriends he sad about?
Jenna,
Now, Mickey Mouse was also a girlfriend, right?
of sorts. Yes.
I mean, they had some kind of.
I don't know what she was. She was around.
She was around a lot.
Right.
She spent the night over to y'all's apartment a lot.
Yes.
Now, is that accurate?
Yes.
And when she spent the night over there, she spent the night in his bedroom.
Yes.
She slept in his bed
Yes.
with him.
Yes.
Girlfriend, right?
Yes.
Do you know when he broke up with Nikki?
No.
So, do you know how much Xanax he took that night?
It's like 6 pills, 6, 7 pills.
It was pills.
Yes.
And to you, that was more than he should have taken.
Yes.
And how much alcohol did he have that night?
Don't know exact, but like I said, the bottle was empty at the end of the night.
Maybe half a bottle of it?
At least.
At least half a liter of it.
Yes.
Liter bottle.
Leader.
And that would have been too much too.
Correct.
Because somebody who's drinking that much alcohol is not going to be able to do anything for a long time. Is that fair?
Yes.
Have you ever seen him drink that much alcohol?
I don't know. I don't remember.
I mean, that seems to be such a large amount that it's standing out.
It was a lot.
And so that's why I'm asking, do you ever recall having seen him drink that large amount of
No.
alcohol?
No.
And this would have been sometime, finishing up sometime around 9 o'clock that night?
That's when I went to bed, yes.
And you don't know what he drank and did after you went to bed?
No.
You're not passing with this.
Oh, Mr. Davis, I have a couple of follow-up questions. Now, do you remember, if at all, on that night of April 4th, 2012, just a few days before, did any police come to your door at all that week?
No. Not that I recall.
Okay. They never came to your door talking about a suspicious vehicle or anything like that?
No.
Never asked you about your vehicle or Brandon's vehicle?
It was a lady who works for the police department, who lives like a couple buildings down. She saw me get out of my truck and told me that the same officer who was shot was responding to a call about my truck door being open. But that was days after the shooting.
But neither you nor Brandon went down and talked to that officer?
No.
Okay, that was days after the...
That was, yeah, she's not an officer, it was just days after.
Now, you live in the state of Virginia now?
Yes.
What do you do this year?
I'm a chef.
Okay. You went to school here for
Culinary arts.
Culinary arts?
Yes.
And who flew you down from Virginia here to testify? Did you come your own accord, or did the district attorney pay for
The
that?
district attorney paid for it.
Did they pay for where you're staying?
Yes.
And they sponsored your testimony today, right? So they called you to the session?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Davis.
Steady?
You had another question?
All right, thank you, Ms. Evans.
Young man, he be excused to return to his home.
Any objection?
No objection, Member.
Right. Next witness.
Statement called Daniel Gary. Sir, will you state and spell your name, please?
My name is Farrell Gary. It's F-A-R-I-A-L-G-A-R-I-E.
And how are you employed?
Travis County Sheriff's Department.
And what is your role with the Travis County Sheriff's Department?
I'm a senior corrections officer.
And what does that mean? Or what do you do?
It depends exactly where you work at, but basically we supervise inmates and deal with paperwork and proceedings.
Okay. And in May of 2012, do you remember where you were assigned at that time?
Yes, sir.
And where were you assigned in May of 2012?
Building 12, Del Valley, Baker Unit.
And can you describe what Building 12 Baker Unit is and looks like?
It's a maximum security unit. Baker has 4 units, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Each unit houses 48 inmates with an upstairs and a downstairs. Each level has 12 cells with 2 inmates in each cell.
And specifically on May 20th, 2012, at about 7 p.m. or 1900 hours, did you have any contact with Brandon Daniel?
Yes, sir, I did.
And what was your contact on May 20th, 2012 with Mr. Daniel?
At that time we were working 12-hour shifts. I came on at 6 o'clock. I was going around doing a post-visual, checking all the cells to make sure all the inmates were fine, and Brandon come up talking to me stating that he needed to speak with me. And I told him, give me about a minute or two, I'll finish my visual and I'll come talk to you.
Now, at that time, is he locked in a cell?
No, sir. The inmates were unracked at 6:30 that evening till 8:30 at night.
And what does that mean if they're unwrapped?
Their cell doors are open. They're out in the day room where they can play cards, watch TV, or go out in the backyard.
So even though they're housed 2 per cell, at this particular time, all 48 inmates of Baker 1 can intermingle?
Yes, sir.
Is that fair to say?
Yes, sir.
And did you have contact with him after you completed your visual?
Yes, sir. When I completed my visual, he was heading back into his cell, and I followed him to his cell, and I opened the door and asked him if he wanted me to talk to him inside the cell or at my desk, and he said inside the cell would be better.
Okay. And what did he tell you?
That he had found a bunch of orange and green pills inside of our day room, and he had taken them trying to commit suicide.
And is that something that's normally left around the day room
No, sir.
of jail?
No, sir.
At that time, did you do any investigation to determine whether or not that was true?
At that time, no, sir. I called our medical staff at the health services building to send him over. I figured I could look into that afterwards.
Okay. So basically, anytime that report is made, you're going to act as if it's true and act accordingly.
Yes, sir.
And so he went from Building 12 to Health Services?
Yes, sir.
Did you have any further contact with him that day?
No, sir, not that day.
And did you find any evidence that he had in fact taken a large amount of pills?
No, sir. After he had told me he had taken the pills, he had a cellmate that was out in the day room. I secured the cell door so his cellmate couldn't go back into the day room, into his cell. And later that night at 8:30 when we did that rack up, I kept his cellmate out, and I went through the whole cell myself, searching to see if there were any pills in there. There were not.
And had you seen any pills in the day room of that building earlier?
No, sir. Every day when we come on, we search the entire unit prior to letting inmates out for any type of contraband.
And is the person you dealt with and believed to be Brandon Daniel on May 20th, 2012 in the courtroom today?
Yes, sir.
Can you identify where he is sitting and what he's wearing?
On the third seat to my left, he's behind a computer monitor. I can't see exactly what he's wearing. It looks like a black sports jacket.
I'll pass over this time.
Mr. Gary, my name is Russ. Gary, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, my name is Russ Hunt. So at the time this occurred, you were working in Building 12, correct?
Yes, sir.
And Building 12 is a maximum security facility, is that correct?
Not the whole building, only the Baker unit is. units.
Only the Baker unit?
Yes, sir.
And is it like Adam, Baker, Charlie, is that why they say Baker unit?
Yes, sir.
It looks like a B unit or B wing or something.
Right.
Okay. And you said there are 48 different inmates in this, that use this particular day room, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And what's the procedure for the inmates getting their medication, if they get medication, prescription medication?
Some of the inmates have a keep-on-person medication that comes in a little card of different types, and the nurse comes around.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand what you said. And I keep on person?
It's, some of the medications, inmates have it's called keep-on-person. They have a little card with all their pills in it that stays with them. We also have nurses that come around once each shift and.
I'm sorry, I'm still confused. They have a card that has their pills on it?
Right, it looks like a square cardboard card with little plastic cutouts for the pills.
Oh, like when you get Sudafed, you pop them into your thing?
Right.
Okay, all right, so some inmates can have that kind of medication.
Right, yes, sir.
And are those prescription medications or medications they might get from the dispensary?
Those would be prescription, yes, sir.
Okay, so some inmates have those medications. Do you know what those medications are?
No, sir, I do not.
All right, so other than those particular medications, what else is
Just what the nurse comes by and passes out on each shift.
there? Okay, so is there a certain time where the inmates have to go into their rooms then?
During different rack-up times, yes, sir.
Okay, well, rack-up times is when the inmates go to their bed or their rooms and they're in their rooms. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and is that when the nurse comes around and hands out pills?
Not all the time. They come at different times.
Okay, so the inmates may be in the day room hanging out watching TV, and the nurse might come around at that time?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and she gives the pills to the particular inmate?
Right.
Okay. Now, do the inmates, are they all supposed to take the medicine right then and there, or
Yes,
is
sir.
there some that's like bedtime medicine, wait until bedtime?
The medications the nurse has, they have to take right then in front of her and open their mouths and show them that they swallowed the pills.
Okay. So as far as the procedures that you have, there are procedures in place to try to ensure that nobody, takes their medication or resells their medication. Is that
Yes,
right?
sir.
Okay. But there's never any guarantee that somebody hasn't cheated the medication or done something else to resell the medication. There's no
Right, that's correct.
And jails, like a lot of places, there are different, it's a different economy, but people will buy and sell anything that's valuable. Would you say that's fair?
Yes, sir.
Used to be cigarettes, we don't have cigarettes in jail.
No, sir.
But cigarettes used to be a means of trade within jail facilities, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
There's probably other things that inmates trade, snacks from the commissary, cards, other things like that, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And it wouldn't be inconceivable that a person might at least attempt to smuggle some of his drugs to another inmate who may be able to pay for it in some way. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Whether they be effective or not, it wouldn't be terribly surprising that someone would attempt that.
Yes.
Now, after this incident, where Mr. Daniels told you that he had found a bunch of orange and green pills, that's correct, isn't it, orange and green?
Yes, sir.
Did he say that they were taped to the underside of the chair in the day room or something like that?
No, sir.
Okay. He said he found a bunch of orange and green pills.
That's all he told me was he found them in the day room, yes, sir.
And so then you, of course, went to his cell, to search his cell, and see if there were any more orange and green pills. Is that right?
Right.
Okay. You didn't find any orange and green pills?
No, sir.
So if there had been orange and green pills, he did something else with them, either threw them away or he ingested them, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you're not saying that he did or did not ingest those pills. You're not saying there were or were not pills. You're just saying that we searched his room and there weren't any in his room. correct?
Exactly.
Your Honor, we'll counsel with that.
I have no question.
Thank you. You may step down.
They can call Deputy Weeks, Your Honor.
All right.
Bill, you
Will you state and spell your name, please?
Full name is Gregory, Gregory, Weiss, Weiss.
And how are you employed?
I'm a correctional officer with the Travis County Sheriff's Office.
How long have you been with the Travis County Sheriff's Office?
A little over 5 years.
And has all of that been in corrections?
Yes, sir.
And I want to direct your attention back to May 20th, 2012. On that occasion, did you have an opportunity to have contact with a Brandon Daniel?
Yes, sir.
And what was your contact initially with Mr. Daniel on that day?
I escorted him to medical.
And that was at the behest of Officer or Deputy Gary?
Gary, yes, sir. He was running the unit.
So you took him to the HSB unit?
Yes, health service building, yes, sir.
And how far is that from Building 12?
About 100 yards, I would say. About a 2-minute walk.
And when you came back, did you have an occasion to help with the investigation regarding Mr. Daniel's report to Deputy Gary?
A little bit, yes, sir.
What did you do?
After we found out that he was being sent to the hospital, I was the one that packed his property for him and then ended up searching it.
And is that typical to pack up someone's property if they're sent to a different unit?
If they're sent to the hospital, yes.
And essentially you're going to reissue that bed and give whoever his cellmate was a new cellmate, is that fair to say?
Correct.
So all of his stuff, for lack of a better word, is going to be documented and stored somewhere for him to get back when he returns.
As far as documented, no. We're going to put it in his property bag. They get little clear plastic bags. We put everything that we can find in the cell. I believe he was the only one in the cell at the time. We put it in that bag, and then it moves with him.
Okay. And when you, how would you say it? If you're not documented, are you just collecting? Is that?
Yes, sir.
When you collected his property, did anything stand out to you?
Yes, sir.
What?
There was a small strip of paper that appeared to be a cryptic message.
What about it appeared to be a cryptic message?
It was straight and straight lines, angled lines, from almost like a cipher. It just caught the eye.
Are you familiar with coded letters and code?
No, sir.
Is that something that's typical in jail?
No, sir.
In addition to that strip of paper that you thought was a cryptic message, was there a letter?
Yes, sir. It was the next sheet of paper.
And who was the letter to?
His mother.
And did the content of that letter give any indication as to what the strip of paper was?
Yes, sir.
How so?
It was explaining how to decrypt future messages using the cryptic message of the original slip.
It was basically explaining that strip of paper was a code, a decipher tool for future coded messages.
Yes, sir.
Fair to say?
Yes, sir.
And did that letter also make any other mention of efforts to bypass jail security?
Yes, sir. I believe it stated that he was going to give it to his attorney to get straight to his mother, which was not normal.
And is attorney mail screened?
For incoming or outgoing?
If an inmate writes a letter to his or her attorney, is that something that y'all...
We don't open it, no.
You're not allowed to open it?
We don't open it, no.
But if someone sends a letter to a family member, it is within your policy at times to open those letters and read them?
If we have permission from supervisor, yes.
I'll pass with it this time.
Officer Weiss, good afternoon. Did you receive the letter and give it to somebody?
I give it to our supervisors.
Okay. Do you know if that letter was ever decoded or the little sheet of paper that you said had some sort of cryptic
The
message on it?
piece of paper on it, yes, since the second page had I guess the best way to describe it would be a key, or a key would be the best way. Yes, it was.
Did you do that or did somebody else do that?
I did it, yes, sir.
Okay. Do you remember what it said?
It was abbreviated. It would have spelled "I love you, Mom," but it wasn't full like LOVE. It was LV. It's been a really long time, but it wasn't full words. It was just abbreviations.
So the cryptic letter that you found, once it was deciphered by yourself, it spelled out "I love you, Mom."
Yes, sir.